Welcome, it's Professor McBride, and we're going to walk through the exemplification essay by looking at this essay worksheet that I've provided for you. Now, this is not a required assignment. I make this available as a graphic organizer because students tell me that it's very helpful in helping them complete the essay. It kind of allows them to maybe just tackle a section at a time as opposed to trying to do the whole thing. So we're going to use this to guide our discussion. I will say I have given you some presentations about the writing process where I talk about all the different parts of the essay. For the exemplification essay, that is the same thing. It is your basic essay that I talked about whenever I talked about the writing process for an academic essay. So you can look at those for more details. You can also look at the handouts. The one particular would be the Master Guide to Academic Essay and Rhetoric, where you're going to see examples of all of the things that I'm going to talk about in more detail. So again, this is just a really quick run through to help you understand how to do something, okay? So the first thing you see in the worksheet is it tells you again to do your MLA heading and your essay title. That's part of formatting. We're not worried about that right now. So the first section is your introduction. So your introduction is your first impression with your reader. So it's really important that before you start writing your essay that you have those first steps done. I've got a video that I talk about those. So remember, it's audience, purpose, context, and thesis, right? You know, how can you know what's going to get your reader's attention if you don't even know who your reader is, right? How can you give them background information if you don't know what your thesis is, or you're not sure about your purpose, or you don't understand all the context that you want to talk about? So that's why those are all really key things to have set before you start filling out this form. Right. So the attention getter, again, is just something that's going to get your reader's attention. If you've taken speech, or when you take speech, you're going to find that this is the same in speech as well. What can I say to my reader to get them to listen, to read on, right? That's only going to be about maybe 1 or 2 sentences, unless you're doing the anecdote type, which is telling a short story, which might be 4, maybe even 5 sentences. The bulk of the introduction, though, is the background section. And this is all of the information that you need to give your reader that is essential and relevant for the topic, right? Your reader might not understand all the things that are going on. I mean, you're not talking to someone that agrees with you, right? You're talking to someone who might be unaware of the problem, or they might be unaware of another side to the problem. Maybe they've only seen it from one perspective. So you have to kind of lay out the foundation of what's going on that we have to have this discussion, right? If you're going to talk about bad dorms, right? Well, what if your reader is someone who had a great dorm experience, right? I'm not one of them. The year that I lived in the dorm was just awful, awful, awful. And boy, as soon as we could, we got an apartment off campus. But, there are people who are the lucky ones that get into the best dorms. So they're like, well, why would somebody not like the dorm, right? So maybe they have a very different experience. So you need to lay out what's going on that helps them see that there's a real need for this discussion or this argument, whatever you're going to talk to them about. Part of the background information might be telling your story. If you're using personal experience, then you might want to say, like, how did I become aware of this? If you're not allowed to use first person, though, then you have to think of other things that you can say. So again, think about, what do I need to tell my reader to get them up to speed so that when I give them my thesis, they get it, right? Or at least they're prepared for it. And then I'm going to end my introduction always with one sentence. That is my thesis. Remember, it has to have subject, attitude, and those 3 primary points. Again, it's one sentence only. So that's it. The structure of the introduction is a triangle that's on its point, because we start broad and we narrow to the point. In the other video, I talk about the importance of maintaining that progression, that you're not doing the hokey pokey where you go in that's more narrow, but then you come back, the next sentence is broader, and then the next sentence is a little bit more narrow. We don't do that. We want a smooth progression that we're inching in. Every sentence is a little bit more specific until we reach our thesis. Right. The next section is the body. You're going to have 3 paragraphs here. Each one of those is going to start with a sentence that identifies one of those 3 primary points that you listed in your thesis, right? And again, you notice here it says your original idea. You do not quote, you do not summarize, you don't paraphrase anyone else. The topic sentence and the thesis are your ideas. Right? So those should not have anything else except for what it is. So your topic sentence is basically going to tell us, what is this paragraph about? right? So if our here is a sample introduction. So my thesis when I get here is to avoid being defrauded. People should learn to identify the most common types of propaganda used in advertising: testimonial, card stacking, and glittering generalities. Right? So we can see that three-part structure there. Every one of my topic sentences is going to come from these three terms. Right? But you can see here it starts off broad. America is a country of consumers. People buy products on a scale unlike anywhere else in the world. America also has the highest personal debt rates in the world as well. Right? So many people are drowning under credit card and loan debts, but it does not stop them from purchasing more things, many that they do not need. So this is kind of their attention getter, right? Now we're going to get to the background information so we've got that transitional word that is showing us there's a turn in the conversation. Because people love to buy, many unscrupulous companies target uninformed consumers and prey on their need to be thinner, healthier, sexier, and happier. So all of a sudden we've got a problem that's being identified. Right? They do so through propaganda. Now see, there's where we're connecting now. See how we're like narrow. Americans like to buy stuff. They'll buy just about anything. They go into debt because of that. And oftentimes it's because propagandists lure them in, right? So we're narrowing it down here. It is not just a tool for politicians and dictators. Propaganda, or the art of persuading someone to do something, is a crucial aspect of sales. So we're defining, we're narrowing it further. Some use it to promote worthy causes like raising money to help feed children, but others use it out of greed. But the government and consumer watch groups work hard to alert consumers about scams. Too many people, blah, 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 blah. And then we get to this problem about then, okay, so there's good propaganda and there's bad propaganda. So people need to be able to tell the difference. And so here's how they can do it with three of the most common things. Do you see how that all leads to the thesis?